tell me why you would argue that justice is found for these families through civil action in the courts. Why is that a good route to justice?
You know, poor people in America, as elsewhere, don't have much power at all. They have very few means to do things rather than having things done to them. They have the voice that is a vote that's critical, and the other route that poor people have is the civil justice system. The civil justice system is built on the premise that there's going to be the same justice given to rich and poor alike, and it is a gate, a doorway to something that approximates an equal approach and an equal sense of justice that's not dependent on your social class. And that's
so now these families already hired a legal aid lawyer to get the government to act.
Right.
They sued the government to get repairs. They were not able to file a class action suit that a private attorney, not in legal aid, that isn't government funded, could file to try to get monetary relief.
Right.
Why could one argue that that's the more appropriate route to justice, or is there more than one route to justice?
This case is a good example of how there are multiple paths to justice. New Haven Legal Assistance, which is one of the great organizations in our community and in the nation, has done so much for these families to get them decent accommodations and decent housing. But they're still behind. They're still behind because of what was done to them. And a private lawyer like me can bring an action for money damages for these families, and they have just as much right to that because even though they're poor, as they would if they're rich. So both kinds of law can help them.
And then there's the criticism of lawyers who take on these cases who get a third of the proceeds if they win. Is the argument that it costs a lot to file these cases, these people can't pay if they lose, so that's a fair way to compensate?
Yeah, there's different ways to see that people get access to justice. One is to have lawyers provided free by the state. That happens to criminal defendants, and it happens with legal aid. And the other way is to have private lawyers who commit their professional lives to this type of work and make their living from it. And the way to make a living representing people who don't have anything is inevitably that if there's money damages, that's the only possible source of.
And you've taken these cases on for your whole life.
Yeah.
Are there ever cases you take them on, you don't win, you don't get paid?
But part of doing a case like this is that if you don't win, you don't get paid, and that happens. It happens not infrequently. So the test is this a worthwhile commitment? The test is not, am I sure I'm going to get paid?